So what I'd like to do is first I'll say good morning to everyone. Glad you guys could join us. There appears there's going to be a gang of us. So if you, as a favor to me and to the other speakers, if you'll keep your microphone on mute and raise your hand, just do, like you were in fifth grade again. And then that'll allow each of us to speak and be okay. I'm going to check this out again. So first off, I'm going to introduce myself. My name is Keith Rand, and I own a company called First Quality Printing, and appreciate each and every last one of you showing up for our Circle Business Network meeting this Thursday morning. We will have a speaker this morning. She will introduce herself last, but what I'd like to do is spend about a minute and introduce each and every last one of you, and give me about a minute or so of you and your firm, and then also where you are speaking from, if you do not mind. So I'm going to call you by the way I see you on my screen. So first up will be Adele Bush, please.
Well, good morning, everybody. Happy New Year. My name is Adele Bush, and I'm coming to you live from Columbus, Ohio. It's always a pleasure to be part of this group. I really enjoy the fellowship here and a lot of great information exchanged as well. I own a small business, ASB Business Services, LLC. We do personalized, customized, and exclusive executive telephone outreach. We also do business research, prospect development. We work business to business, and the goal of my business is to ensure that my clients have the right contacts in the right companies, that you get them in the right way before we make that call on your behalf. It's very important that we have the right people, because you'd be surprised how much smoother the call will go, and we'll spend less time searching. So this is what I do, and this is how I can help you. Adele Bush, ASB Business Services, LLC, Columbus, Ohio, but we can work anywhere, anytime. Thank you.
Thank you, Adele. Gloria, if you would, please.
Good morning, everybody. Glad to be back. Glad to see all your smiling faces this morning. I'm Gloria Thomas from Columbus, Ohio. I have the name of my business is Secret Dream Trip. And what's happened is our old company has joined with a new company, and we're able to offer more services. So it becomes a lifestyle company. And now we can offer better health, okay, better looking, your skincare, and we can also offer better travel. So we're putting together a challenge, starts on the 15th of this month. So everybody in the beginning of the year like to get their health back together, so they'll join the health clubs and all of that. So we've got a program that we're putting together. If you're interested in improving your health, losing weight, COVID put it on me, I had to lose it. If you're interested in any of that, by all means, get in touch with me. I can do this, like Adele says, from a distance. So Gloria Thomas, Secret Dream Trips.
Thank you, Gloria. Marianne Yates, please.
Had to unmute.
Thank you, Marianne.
Hi, Keith. How are you?
I'm good.
Good. Good to see everyone. Mike, love seeing you. Haven't been seeing you in forever. But anyway, this is Marianne Yates, and I own Elder Moves, and we help which we are trying to change the name to EM Transitions. So we're running under dual names because of the pandemic. There's no way that we're going to do it. We're going to stay probably at Elder Moves. But anyway, we help people go through the transition of moving. We do not have to help elderly. 50% of our clients are not elderly based. And what we do is we just go in and we help sort, organize, downsize. We decorate, and decoration is a big part of our total package. And we get the whole home ready for resale if it needs to be resold. And then we set people up completely at the new location. That means unpacking every box, removing it, hanging pictures. It's, a wonderful service. You'd be surprised. In 2 days' time, people are completely set up. That I pass.
Thank you, Mary Ann. Claire Lehman, good morning. Good to see you.
Good morning. We have someone else joining us. My name is Claire Lehman. I work with Simon Spitzer and Associates. We're a full service CPA firm. We also have a division that's for a family office, and that's the division that I'm the manager of. We have been in business for over 20 years, and we support a lot of small businesses, even medium-sized businesses. We do individual tax returns as well, but our primary focus is serving the full needs of a business owner. So Simon Spitzer.
Thank you, Claire. Ashley, I'm going to let you introduce yourself last. So Ashley Lombardo is our speaker this morning. We're going to pass on her because I want her to give a proper introduction I want the Ashley show, okay? So we'll pass on her. Tim, if you would, please.
Hello, everyone. Nice to meet everyone. I'm new to the organization here. I was invited by Rhoda with a company or an organization called Connected here in Columbus, Ohio, and I'm glad to see a lot of people from the area here. My background, I'm an Air Force veteran, retired law enforcement, a safety and security specialist for the last 30 years. I worked down at our state house a little bit, working with legislators on various forms of criminal justice reform, government overreach reform, drug policy reform, etc. I played an instrumental part here in Ohio in the creation of our Ohio Medical Cannabis Program and the Ohio Hemp Program that are both active now. What I do there is provide consulting services to the industries. Outside of that industry, I also do safety and security training classes for various organizations in lieu of some of the incidents we've seen recently and so forth. Following throughout last year, how to handle those incidents and how to recover from them. I also sell high-end biometric security systems, the whole gamut, fencing, vaults, etc., etc. So outside of all that, safety and security is my specialist. It's what I focus on. It's great to meet everybody.
Thank you, Tim. Zach Fox, please.
Good morning, everyone. Zach Fox, financial advisor with Edward Jones. We can help you plan and invest your money for your long-term goals, whether for you personally or for your business.
Zach, that was short and sweet, buddy.
That's it. I forgot to
Alex,
add that
great.
in the Indianapolis area.
Oh, thank you. Alex, great.
Hi, my name's Alex Gray. Zionsville, Indiana, northwest of Indianapolis. I own a company called Opine Interactive, which effectively shut down operations at the end of last year, although still working with clients to move their websites and email and various things. So my focus is still a little bit on that. Going forward, the company basically, over the years, I've accumulated quite a few domains, so I'll be selling those off probably over the next year. And other than that, I'll be focused on my equity investments.
Thank you, Alex. David Garrison, please.
How's that?
Thank you, sir.
I thought I did. Tried. Anyway, Dave Garrison. I'm with Mutual of Omaha Mortgage. I live and work in the Indianapolis area down near Martinsville, where you can't get to anymore because we're building I-69 through here. So just a word of advice to anybody who lives in this area. If you're going from Indianapolis to Bloomington, don't, because it won't happen. You might as well just take 65 and go through Nashville. The road's completely closed. Anyway, I work with wealth advisors and real estate agents and their clients in the reverse mortgage field, providing seniors an opportunity to use their housing wealth to provide and secure their best retirement.
Rhoda.
Good morning, all. Very happy to see some of my invitees join us. That's really great. My company is Say It For You here in Indianapolis, and we are a team of ghost writers. And one very pleasant thing that's happening right now is that I'm starting to get some attention from different agencies So that Say It For You B is coming into fruition, meaning that instead of working directly with clients, we're now getting some assignments to work for agencies hired by those clients to do the actual writing work. So now we have Say It For You A, where we're working directly to tell the story of what you do and how you do it, and showing the world that you're with it, with what's happening today. And so when people come to your website, they're not seeing content that was written 5 years ago, but they're seeing something that is very current. So we say it for you.
Thank you, Rhoda. Mike Ryan.
Okay, you hear me?
Yep, finally.
Okay, Mike Ryan, partner, Leader Pro, Horticulture Services. We're landscape contractors. We provide maintenance services for 45 to 50 people annually. And of those, we do landscape projects, Indianapolis based. I'm out here in Lawrence Township and been part of CBN since the early 90s.
All right, Mike. Cody, who has a company called COVID.
Hey everyone, how are you?
Good to see you healthy, man. You're okay?
Yes. Yeah, about
Okay,
2
good.
weeks. 2 weeks kicking. I just get a little cough every now and then now.
Yeah.
So COVID's real, and I got it real bad. So, but I do IT consulting. So my particular role is I do sales, accounts, and business analysis for our clients. So our perspective on IT is that it's not just a tool for you to use to make your business succeed, but it's an actual complete comprehensive business unit that comes alongside all your other business units. And so we have a lot of business analysis that goes along. So very transparent reporting to let you know what your dollars are doing and where your productivity is at and what type of initiatives are in play and how you compare with industry peers. So from help desk support to full-on consulting is kind of the scope that we do. In the headquartered in the Indianapolis area is kind of the goal that we work within, but we've got clients all over the America, but not too far west.
Okay. Thank you, Cody. Stay healthy, man. Stay healthy. Tony Havocks.
Tony Havocks with PH2. We do environmental health and safety consulting and forensic engineering. We try to manage people's risks so they go to sleep at night. So that involves anything from chemicals that are contaminants and hurt you, or parts that fail.
Another short and sweet, and enjoy. We also nicknamed Tony the Head. If any of you, if you can't guess why, I can't help you. Last but not least, glad to see all you guys this morning. Just do if you do me a favor, if you'll from time to time, make sure to check the chats. Note, sometimes people are writing to you individually, or sometimes we'll write to the group, but if you'll just check the chats from time to time. Secondly, obviously, we are going to have a tax speaker this morning, but the policies we have to be fluid because the political situation changed and politics dictates policies. So, we'll listen to Ashley this morning and carry that as a thought in mind. With that, glad to see everyone this morning, but it's now the Ashley show. So Ashley, if you would, we'll give you the next 30 minutes or so. And if you would just introduce yourself, talk about your firm, a little bit about you, and then give us your presentation, please.
Absolutely. Well, thank you, Keith, and thank you for everyone for having me. I'm super excited to be here and really just honored that you guys wanted to have me here to talk about some exciting tax changes coming to the 2021 tax year, and hopefully be able to give you guys some tips for your 2020 tax return that you're about to file as well. Just a little bit more about me. I'm from the Indianapolis area. Grew up on the south side of Indianapolis, still here today. I graduated from IUPUI, Kelley School of Business. I have several years of experience in public accounting in both the audit and tax side of things. I also did a stint in corporate accounting at Salesforce for a while. Ultimately decided that my true passion is working with small businesses in the public accounting environment, which is what really led me to my time here at Simon Spitzer with Clara. And like I said, that's just really my passion, being able to help from an entire business standpoint on both the accounting and then the tax side of things as well. And I'm just really fortunate to be able to work with our clients and help them out from a holistic planning business standpoint. So I do have a PowerPoint presentation to share with you guys today. So let me share my screen. All right, wouldn't be as well without some technical difficulties there. Anyway, that's a little bit more about me. And so what I'm really going to be covering today is just there were a lot of changes that happened in 2020 through the CARES Act, and then at the end of the year, the Consolidated Appropriations Act. A lot of things that's going to affect your 2020 tax return, and then, from a business tax standpoint as well. So I want to make sure that I cover some things that hopefully you guys are able to take advantage of. I also want to talk about the Paycheck Protection Program, which is probably the largest effort to come out of 2020 in terms of Congress and keeping businesses up and running and people employed. And then also there are some updates to 1099s that are happening this year. As business owners, you guys have to file those by January 31st. So I wanted to make you aware of some changes coming to the 1099s as well. And so before I really dive in, I'm going to be mentioning several pieces of legislation this morning, and I just want to make you aware of what those are. So the Secure Act is one act that I will mention quite a bit. This was actually passed at the end of 2019, but it's several changes that are going to affect your 2020 tax return, specifically relating to retirement plans. The CARES Act is the one that probably most of us are familiar with. This was passed in March of 2020, and it was an effort by Congress to stimulate the economy in response to the coronavirus pandemic. And lastly, you'll hear me talk about the Consolidated Appropriations Act, which Congress just passed on December 27th of 2020. This extended several benefits constituted in the CARES Act that was set to expire, and then it also created some additional benefits that I will cover as well. So let's start off with changes that you can expect to see on your 1040 this year for your 2020 return. First of all, there was an increase to the standard deduction. For single, it increased by $200, married filing jointly by $400, married filing separate $200, and then head of household $300. And then I do also want to note that the tax brackets widened slightly in 2020 just to adjust for inflation, of course. The recovery rebate credit. So technically your stimulus checks were an advance payment of a special 2020 tax credit known as the recovery rebate credit. So when you file your 2020 return, you'll have to reconcile your stimulus check you received with the recovery rebate credit that you're entitled to claim. For most people, the stimulus check will be equal to the tax credit that you're allowed. In that case, your credit will be reduced to zero and you'll net out, nothing will change. However, if your stimulus check was less than the credit that you're entitled to, the tax that you owe will be reduced by that difference and even maybe causing you to see a refund. If your stimulus check happened to be more than the credit amount, you generally they're not going to make you repay any difference in 2020. This would really only happen if you had just a large increase in 2020 in your income. But like I said, from what I've read, it's very unlikely that the difference there is going to have to be repaid. And then also just a quick reminder that stimulus check payments are not considered taxable income and will not have to be reported as income as such on your 2020 return. So there were several changes thanks to the CARES Act in terms of charitable contributions. So for people who do not itemize, for people who take the standard deduction, they're actually, excuse me, able to take a $300 above the line deduction for charitable cash contributions in 2020. And again, this is only for taxpayers who do not itemize. So if you're familiar with the standard deduction versus the itemized deduction, you're only able to take the greater of the standard deduction or itemized. And so from the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act that Trump signed into law in 2018, he greatly increased the standard deduction. And so people were less likely to be able to take cash contributions because a lot of the times they just weren't, the dollar amount wasn't higher than the standard deduction that they were allowed to take. So this is quite an incentive for 2020 for businesses to be able to give charitably and then still be able to take that $300 deduction for individuals as well. For taxpayers who do itemize, they are not able to take this $300 deduction above the line, but there still was an incentive placed in service there in 2020 through the CARES Act. There is no longer a cash contribution limit. Before cash contributions were limited at 60% of your AGI. And an incentive again to, incentivize charitable giving. There's no longer a cash contribution limit for 2020. That was extended into 2021 by the Consolidated Appropriations Act passed at the end of the year. There are also quite a few changes happening with retirement plans in 2020 and going forward. So a few that I wanted to make everyone aware of. Both acts significantly impacted required minimum distributions. For example, the Secure Act, the beginning age for taking retired minimum distributions raises from 70.5 to 72. Owners of traditional IRAs are actually able to start making contributions after the age of 70.5 starting in 2020. And another big incentive, taxpayers who had a baby or who adopt a child, they can actually withdraw $5,000 from their IRA without the 10% early distribution penalty. So quite a big tax break there. And then in addition, like the CARES Act also had several great benefits in regards to retirement plans. So they allowed taxpayers in 2020 to skip their required minimum distributions without penalty. And then another big benefit from the CARES Act that we saw was the 10% early withdrawal penalty was waived for coronavirus related distributions up to $100,000. So quite a big tax break there. What is considered a coronavirus related distribution? It's a distribution that you took in 2020, as long as you can prove that you had a hardship, that your income significantly decreased due to the pandemic, you were furloughed, you were caring for someone who had coronavirus, or you had coronavirus yourself, you were able to take that distribution without the penalty. So quite a big break there. You'll just need to make sure that there's a special form that you file with your 2020 return in order to take advantage of that. There were also several increases to retirement contribution limits. So I've kind of grouped them out here for you to see the max contributions for each type of plan, your 401ks, your 403bs, your simple IRAs, and your traditional and Roth IRAs. So again, those limits all increase in 2020, and they're going to increase again in 2021. So you're able to contribute more and really maximize your deduction there. And then just a reminder that you are able to actually make a contribution until April 15th for 2020. And so if you make that contribution by April 15th, you are able to take that deduction on your 2020 return. And as well as these contribution limits increasing, the deduction limits increased as well, making it easier for you to qualify for taking this deduction. Self-employed sick leave credits. This is a credit for self-employed individuals who met the following criteria in 2020. So if you're self-employed, if you had to quarantine due to experiencing symptoms or having COVID, if you cared for someone with COVID, or if you're caring for a child because their school daycare is closed and you were unable to work. If you're self-employed, you qualify for the sick and family leave credits, similar to if employers who were covered for their employees who were unable to work. You are able to take this credit if you're self-employed. The credit is up to $511 per day for 10 days. A few other deductions I just wanted to make you aware of. Going forward in 2021 and 22, business meals are now 100% deductible. This was thanks to the Consolidated Appropriations Act passed at the end of the year. It's really an incentive to get people back into restaurants. So business meals, this only qualifies if it's food and beverage from a restaurant. And it's really just a big incentive to get people back into restaurants. We'll see how big of a difference that's going to make, but just a reminder for those of you who do have business meal deductions, those are now 100% deductible for the next 2 years. For those who are employed by someone and working remotely, just a reminder that the home office deduction is only available for self-employed individuals. So if you are subject to working remotely, unfortunately, you are not allowed to take the home office deduction. Self-employed individuals only. And then lastly, there's no limit on business loss deductions for self-employed in 2021 and 2022 and 2020 as well. Previously, there was a limit of $250,000 for single, $500,000 for married filing jointly. This limit was suspended in 2020, allowing people to take the losses if they need them on their 2020 returns going forward. So let's discuss a few items that businesses are able to take advantage of. Similar to how we discussed with the self-employed sick leave credits, employers are also able to take this credit for their employees who are unable to work. In order to be a qualified business, you have to employ fewer than 500 employees. You're able to receive the credit for employees who are unable to work or telework, similar to the requirements we discussed for self-employed individuals. And this credit is a credit equal directly to the amount of wages that you paid for these employees. It's available on the quarterly 941. And if you didn't take advantage of this credit in 2020, you were actually able to go back and amend your quarterly 941s back to the second quarter of 2020. So make sure you go back and amend those second, third, and fourth quarters and take advantage of this credit. The employee retention tax credit for businesses affected by COVID, they're able to use this credit to retain staff members. To qualify, a business has to have been fully or partially closed due to a government mandated shutdown or experience a decline in gross receipts more than 50% in any given quarter. I think that at this point, almost every business was closed or partially closed due to government shutdown. And so you're able to take a 50% credit of all of your qualified wages. Previously, under the CARES Act, you were not able to obtain a PPP loan and also get this employee retention tax credit, but that was fixed under the Consolidated Appropriations Act. So under the Consolidated Appropriations Act, you are now able to claim both the employee retention tax credit and receive a PPP loan. So that's just something to consider in 2021. And then another item affecting businesses for 2020, the CARES Act actually increased the allowable interest expense deduction from 30% to 50%. So something to consider there as well. The Paycheck Protection Program was arguably the largest effort from Congress and the CARES Act in 2020 to keep businesses open and employing people. Essentially, it is a loan program that allows businesses to receive money up to a certain amount of their monthly payroll, with the caveat that the loan would be forgiven if the businesses met certain requirements. So the loan had to be spent at least 60% on payroll and other covered expenses such as rent and utilities. You also had to prove this out over a certain covered period, and then you also had to prove certain retention requirements. The first round of funding has closed, and businesses are able to start, applying for forgiveness there through their banks. But a second round of funding was just funded through the Consolidated Appropriations Act at the end of 2021, and several improvements have come to the Paycheck Protection Program. There are, I think, $35 billion set aside for first-time appliers. So businesses who didn't receive a loan the first round are able to receive a loan the second round, no problem. Businesses are able to receive a second loan as well. To qualify for that, you have to have 300 employees or less. Have to be able to prove a 25% drop in gross receipts from 2019 to 2020, and this is proved on a quarterly basis. The amount of the loan this time is going to be 2.5 times your monthly payroll amount, limited to $2 million this time. And then there's also expanded covered expenses. So they're a little more flexible this time on the expenses that you're able to spend them on. And then there's going to be streamlined forgiveness for loans under $150,000. So that's something that we were hoping that came out of the Consolidated Appropriations Act, which did. So that was a bit of good news there. And then clarification on PPP loan forgiveness. Previously under the CARES Act, PPP loans, it was stated that the income would not be considered taxable. However, Congress didn't specify how the expenses would be treated from a tax standpoint. And so the IRS, back in 2020 came out and said, okay, well, the income is not going to be taxable, but you also can't deduct the expenses that you paid for with the income that was forgiven. And so essentially what that did was it created a taxable income because you weren't able to deduct the expenses. And so it was quite a frustrating event from a tax standpoint because, this money was promised to not be taxable. But the Consolidated Appropriations Act that was just passed at the end of December actually did specify that expenses paid for by loan proceeds are deductible. So the income is not taxable and the expenses are deductible, creating no taxable event and no tax consequences of the PPP loans. So just to clarify there. And then lastly, I wanted to cover some 1099 updates with you. Just a reminder on when you should file a 1099. So business owners are required to file a 1099 if you paid the following. So an individual or company, if you paid them more than $600 in services for a calendar year, they cannot be incorporated. So we can't pay C Corps or S Corps 1099s. And then you also had to pay them via cash, check, or bank transfer. And we want to make sure that these are filed by the due date of January 31st, 2021. There are a couple changes on how we are going to file 1099s this year. So previously, we would file 1099 miscellaneous, MISC. The change that's coming in 2021 is that we now have to file 1099 NECs as well. And so I'll get to that here in a second. The requirements this year for 1099 miscellaneous are the following. You have to have at least $10 in royalties or broker payments, and then at least $600 in rents, prizes, and the list goes on. The difference this year is the 1099 NEC. So in the past, if you've previously reported a payment to an independent contractor or a non-employee, then this was reported on box 7 of the 1099 miscellaneous. Going forward, you are going to have to file a separate 1099 NEC for non-employee compensation. So if you previously reported on that box 7 1099 miscellaneous, you now have to report them on the 1099 NEC. And that is at least $600 in services performed by someone who is not your employee, and then cash payments for fish or aquatic life purchases, or payments to an attorney for fees. just wanted to make you guys aware of those changes, as I know that that deadline is coming up, and we'll want to make sure that we're reporting those non-employees on the 1099 NEC this year as well. And so that is really all that I had today. Feel free to ask any questions that you guys had. I also left my contact information in the chat. If anyone wants to chat afterwards or send me an email, a phone call, I'd be happy to talk about anything that we talked about today or any other questions that you might have.
Hey, Ashley, thanks a lot. If you'll give us our screen back so that we can
Yes.
get the full heads back on here.
Absolutely.
Hey, appreciate it. Obviously, as business owners and small business owners, we're going to be affected.
Voice privacy contents have been updated.
I don't-
Continue.
These machines that hear you, I hate that. We're obviously going to be moving forward under some tax situations, and it's always a moving target. If you just take a minute and explain the exemptions for these PPP money, I'm looking at a couple of situations that might involve that, and just want some clarity on that expenses side, because that was a bit confusing.
Yes. So you have to so on this new round of PPP loans, it they actually dropped the requirements that you have to spend on payroll to 40% versus 60%. And then they had a list of expanded coverages, and I can send that out too if that'd be helpful.
If you would.
And it includes things like covered worker protection. So any changes that businesses had to make to keep their employees safe, to keep their customers safe. I believe at this point it does include PPE. The guidelines are a little fuzzy, unfortunately, and the SBA is supposed to be releasing guidelines in addition to the Consolidated Appropriations Act any day now. We expect those by Monday. You know, it like you said, it is kind of a moving target. And so we're trying our best to get the most clarity we can on this. But I do know that expenses such as expanded protection in the workplace are completely covered by this. And additionally, I can send out a more comprehensive list that's included in the Act for those covered expenses.
Yeah, and if you'll send that out to me, I'll make it available to anybody else. Anybody else got any questions for Ashley? Adele?
Yes. Hi, Ashley.
Hi.
Great presentation. Ashley, could you kindly explain what a business loss is? Are you talking about a loss of money? Are you talking about a loss of property, assets?
Yes, so the business loss that I was referring to is just an overall, you know, what are your gross receipts in comparison to your expenses for the year? Yes, so if you ended up at a loss between those two, you're able to take that full deduction in 2020.
Thank you.
Yes, no problem.
So Ashley, all of these changes are just temporary for this year?
Several of them are for 2020 only, and then a few of them did expand into 2021 and 2022 under the Consolidated Appropriations Act. Yes, but most of the changes that I discussed today will not flow past 2022.
Okay.
Unless of course, at the time, should I say, unless of course they do expand them later on, but from the time being where we are at right now, yes.
Ashley, are the donations going to stay in place?
As far as I know, those are extended through 2022. And, you know, I kind of have a feeling they might keep, I think that's a good incentive, especially for people who are not able to itemize. So I would be surprised if they didn't maybe extend that. But, you know, unfortunately, it's just a waiting game and seeing, you know, if that's something that gets extended to the future.
Anyone else got questions for Ashley? You know, obviously taxes is whack-a-mole, right? All we can do is prepare and find professionals like Ashley or, you know, Clara, and do the best we can, because it just depends on what policies will be coming out of Washington. We're going to have a conversation, I believe next month. Alex is up, and I'm going to try to also get a hold of Zach as we talk about these fiscal management and these fiscal policies that will affect us. And they certainly, tax policy is a big decision as for small businesses, particularly as to what you do with your business and how you move forward in terms of how you make investments. And that's a big deal. That's just a big deal. Two things real quick. I don't want to hold you guys too long. One, I will not be here next week. I've got a medical situation, so I'll take care of that next week. Trying to get us a speaker. So you may have a different face on here next week in terms of the host of the situation. I'll get a hold of somebody. We'll figure it all out. Number two, make sure to take Ashley's information down. And if you have any questions, just get a hold of her. And if you can't get a hold of her, get a hold of Clara. Clara can communicate with Ashley. We do have some, I'm sorry, Rhoda, you have your hand up?
Yeah, I wanted to say that Ashley is more than just a speaker. She is going to be the newest member of our group. So you're going to be able to get your questions answered on an ongoing basis, which is something that I have always loved about the group, is when we had a CPA in the group. And so I'm really happy about this. So we're looking forward to having you, Ashley.
Well,
Thank you, Rhoda.
I didn't know that. I'm glad you told us. No, it's good to know, and we'll move forward with that. Before we close out here, just want to make sure, hey, you guys, I see Cody on he's flashing in and out. I keep look there. He's back again. It's not you, Cody. It's me. But this COVID thing, take care of yourselves. Be smart. Know what your position on it, whether you think it's real or don't real. Ask Cody. He'll talk to you for a minute there if you want to. So if we'll just follow up next week, keep yourselves safe. I am sure we will be monitoring this tax thing all year long. We want to take advantage of the tax situation and the business situation as best we can. So, hey, with that, unless somebody's got something else, I will allow you guys to get out. You get to get out of class a little early this week. So I do appreciate you guys showing up. Tim, we looking forward to you. For those of you who don't know, Tim is also going to be bringing us a little bit of update, I hope, on the cannabis situation. This is a real situation in America. It's moving. There are now 4 states that surround the state of Indiana. And for tax purposes, it has some real interesting side events on how it handles cash in America right now. So along with Tim's introduction, I may send a couple of questions to you, Ashley, about you can't handle cash the way you normally do. So we'll figure that all out. So with that, good to see you guys. Stay healthy, and we'll be speaking next week. So I'll see you guys next week, or I won't see you, but somebody will. See you guys. Bye-bye.
Thank you.